frameworks. You need a lot of magic to make it work. There needs to be more money, but we're going to do cuts. They want to be more conservative than the Conservatives.
So no tax cuts.
We've started with the cost of living. We have to cut taxes for the cost of living.
What Mr. Blanchet said is true. You are talking about a magic spell here, Mr. Carney. This is one rare moment where we agree. On February 16th, you sat down with Rosemary Barton and you said that you would cut spending in the operating budget.
Operational spending. That's different.
You said,
one at a time, please,
that this would affect transfers for healthcare and to individuals.
We need to catalyze private investment in our economy to create new and good jobs. That's the first thing we need to do. In terms of transfers to provinces for healthcare, yes, there are limits to the federal government's activity. No new programs. No.
So, Ashley, Donald Trump's trade war with Canada, huge part of the debate tonight.
Yeah, and all the leaders made their case why they believe they're the best person to take on Donald Trump. And we saw NDP leader Jagmeet Singh go after Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre, trying to suggest that he's like Trump.
No one will be able to control the decisions of Donald Trump, but we can control our economy, our domestic economy, by overturning liberal economic policies that have weakened our country and made us more dependent on the Americans.
The issue is, Mr. Poilievre,
well,
you would make Canada more like the United States. You would Americanize our healthcare system, privatize it.
The leaders were also asked what American products they're no longer buying during this trade war.
I buy Quebec strawberries, and I do my own shopping, by the way.
What products have you not bought, Mr. Carney?
No more wine, no more alcohol, no more American alcohol.
I do my own shopping, and I cook at home. Lots of products, fruits.
It's beef in my case. I buy Canadian beef. It's the best beef in the world. But I never buy American strawberries either.
The leaders will continue their conversation tomorrow when they square off again, this time in English.
And as Ashley mentioned, the English debate starts tomorrow at 4 p.m. Pacific on Thursday. It'll be broadcast live right here on CBC Television, CBC News Network, CBC Radio, and everywhere you stream CBC News. And after the debate, we'll recap it and have an expert analysis for you right here. Noticeably absent from that debate, the Green Party, who just hours before it began was removed for focusing on a smaller number of federal ridings for strategic reasons. Mira Baines is that part of the story.
We have a right to be there. We need the support of Canadians.
Being dropped from the only two federal leader election debates is a big blow for the Green Party as it struggles to get its message across to voters. The party's co-leader told Radio-Canada last week a strategic decision was made not to run candidates in ridings where the Conservatives would likely win. That was cited in a rejection letter from the Commission.
We will keep campaigning. We will keep fighting for a greener, fairer future for Canadians. But once again, I find this decision truly unfortunate.
This Green Party candidate in North Vancouver says not allowing his party's leader shuts Green Party candidates out of a national conversation. He says concerns for the environment and climate haven't gone away with talk of tariffs from the U.S.
Just a few years ago, 150,000 people marched in the streets of Vancouver demanding climate action, and that kind of activity happened across Canadian communities.
The Green Party won 2 seats in the last federal election and has struggled to grow its support. Pollster Mario Canseco with Research Co. says the Greens are not alone.
Since the campaign was called, we've seen a lot of people who used to vote for the NDP, who used to vote for the Greens, coalescing around the Liberals because of Donald Trump. So whether we like it or not, this feels like an American election.
This election may go down as one where the Greens have their lowest turnout rates in 20 years. The Green Party says it's still fighting for a spot on the debate stage and has sent a letter to the Commission. Mira Baines, CBC News, Vancouver.
Doris Madavi is here for our first look at the weather. Lovely day out there.
I know. Oh, looks like my screen is frozen. No, it's just that there's no clouds or rain anywhere.
Hamster fell asleep before it could start spinning the wheel?
Yeah, no need today. Nothing but sunny skies across the vast majority of the province. The southeast saw a couple high elevation flurries and lower showers, but for the most part, nothing really to talk about today. Lots of sunny skies, definitely windy down on the beaches across parts of the south coast. But tomorrow will look pretty similar, except without that wind. Lots of sunshine across the south coast through the day. Once we get into Friday in the morning, we start to see some cloud make its way down from the north. Some rain arrives in the early afternoon, maybe mid-afternoon for the North Island. Continues to work its way down, reaching us in the lower mainland overnight Friday into Saturday. And then a bit of an unsettled weekend, but with sunny breaks, Dan.
Okay, thanks very much.
Thank you.
There's a new team in town. Meet Vancouver Rise FC. Up next, a look at the team's hometown debut in the first game of the Northern Super League. Stay with us. Police in West Kelowna are looking into a fight that broke out on a golf course on Monday evening. Now, video of the dust-up, reportedly triggered by a clash over the pace of play, is circulating online. The CBC's Rafferty Baker has more.
You can step in, Justin. You can.
It started on the 18th hole of Two Eagles Golf Course a little before 7 p.m. Jennifer Pont was playing behind the two groups and recorded the video.
There was definitely some aggression and tons of yelling and screaming at each other. I guess there was a group of men on the tee box at the 18th hole, and they were frustrated at the group ahead of them because they were being slow all day.
Pont says everybody on the course was forced to wait after a morning tournament delayed tee times by up to 30 minutes. She says it was a great day for golf, but some players clearly lost their cool.
We golf a lot, and we haven't seen anything even remotely close to that. That was just insanity. It was just embarrassing and shameful and ridiculous.
The course is on West Bank First Nation land under Indigenous ownership. The operators tell CBC News, anyone who fails to adhere to the golf course rules will be banned. We will hold all parties responsible in the desecration of our beautiful golf course, and we formally request the parties involved acknowledge the damage done to each other, and we will be actively engaging in a restitution process. The operators say the fight is the first of its kind on the course in 20 years and will be dealt with the utmost severity. They're requesting a full report from police. Kelowna RCMP say everyone involved has been identified. A staff sergeant calls the behavior in the video nothing short of unacceptable. Rafferty Baker, CBC News, Vancouver.
It is a big moment in Canadian sports. The Northern Super League, the first ever women's professional soccer league in Canada, is holding its first match here in Vancouver at BC Place. Georgie Smythe spoke with soccer legends behind the historic league.
It's game day for Canada's first professional women's soccer league.
Every decision we're making is to build women's soccer in this country, so it's now a real strength for us globally.
The Northern Super League, a dream years in the making, built from scratch by co-founder and former national team member Diana Matheson. She says Canada needed its own women's league to build on past wins and achieve more.
We have the opportunity to build one of the best women's professional soccer leagues in the world. Really, for the first time in the last 5 or 6 years, women's professional sport has been treated like a business, and it's at the beginning. And there's this growth industry that's only going to continue for the next 2 decades.
The league begins play with 6 teams from across the country: Vancouver Rise, Calgary Wild, AFC Toronto, Ottawa Rapid, Montreal Roses, and Halifax Tides.
We're very proud that this is a league coast to coast, and it is Canadian.
Soccer legend Christine Sinclair co-owns Vancouver Rise.
Christine Sinclair,
and like Matheson, became a force off the field, fighting for years for equality in opportunity and pay for female athletes.
As players, we are constantly told that our compensation, or lack of, was all that Canada Soccer could afford.
Even against the sport's governing bodies. The league's leadership was asked to reflect on the hard-fought battle to get here.
I don't think we're going to let Sink answer that one.
But there's more to do, they say. They want more teams and stadiums to support the league becoming one of the best in the world. Half of the league's players have come from overseas, but all hope to inspire Canada's next stars too.
This means a lot, and I don't think we know how much it means until we actually get started.
There is some poetry to Vancouver and Calgary playing the league's opening game. They were the first 2 teams to sign on and begin this historic league. Georgie Smythe, CBC News, Vancouver.
A good day for beach combing, kite surfing, and just soaking up the sun. With protection, of course, the day that was in White Rock as the tide started to come in. Will we have more beach days in our future? Darius has your province-wide weather forecast, and we'll answer that coming up.
This is Vancouver is a new CBC podcast where we explore the issues, the stories, and the people that make this place home. Listen to This is Vancouver wherever you get your podcasts.
The BC Health Coalition is urging the provincial government to cancel its contract with the American company that owns LifeLabs, BC's main provider of lab tests.
We need the government to act. There's no reason why over $300 million a year of British Columbia tax dollars should be going to an American for-profit health corporation for a degraded level of service and lower wages and benefits for the workers.
The public health advocacy group rallied with LifeLabs workers outside the BC legislature. They are now 8 weeks into job action. In a letter to Premier David Eby, they urge him to bring the laboratory services into the public health system. They say that will reduce wait times, save money, and improve working conditions. The Lower Mainland's first pharmacy care clinic is growing in popularity. It looks like a walk-in clinic and aims to reduce pressure on the local healthcare system. But as John Hernandez shows us, while it looks like a doctor's office, it's missing the doctor.
We recommend you stay well hydrated.
It's got all the hallmarks of a doctor's office: patients, private exam rooms, and your standard medical gear. But this health clinic is run by pharmacists.
Excellent, we're done.
That's it?
Yep.
When you come to the pharmacy, you can get treatment for minor conditions, which you couldn't do before.
Pharmacist Sukhveer Sira opened this clinic about 2 weeks ago. It's the first of its kind in Metro Vancouver. He says the goal is to help alleviate pressure on the region's healthcare system.
Surrey is growing rapidly. For every 100,000 citizens, there's only about 59 doctors. Whereas for the rest of BC, for 100,000 citizens, there's about 112 doctors. So there's a bit of a disparity.
In 2023, the province gave pharmacists the green light to begin prescribing medication for about 20 ailments, like headaches, pink eye, and shingles. This pharmacy clinic, one of 2 in BC, takes the patient experience a step further by emulating a doctor's office with private tests and screenings.
And when you're talking about something like a medical condition, it's a private thing. You need to be in a space where you feel safe, you feel calm, you feel like you can be vulnerable and you can truly express yourself.
Patients typically in and out within minutes.
It's good, not bad. They saw us quickly, there wasn't a huge lineup.
Doctors of BC calls it an improvement on the healthcare system overall, but warns patients that pharmacies do have their limits.
It doesn't replace a physician's office for certain things, and one of the things that as physicians we are concerned about is just ensuring that other ailments that are more serious don't get missed.
BC doctors say there needs to be clear communication between physicians and pharmacies to ensure patient needs are met. At least 6 more of these clinics are expected to go online by the end of next year. John Hernandez, CBC News, Surrey.
Each year, it is the biggest financial disclosure of BC's many towns and cities. Vancouver was expected to approve its 2024 Statement of Financial Information. It offers insights into where taxpayers' money is going. And as Justin McElroy shares, who's getting paid the most?
The City of Vancouver had nearly $1 billion surplus last year. Here's what you need to know, along with other interesting facts from the city's Statement of Financial Information approved by Council on Wednesday. Here are some charts. First, surpluses for Vancouver aren't new, but the $860 million surplus is a record for the city, which they said was a result of larger than usual contributions from developers. At the same time, Vancouver's overall revenues eclipsed $3 billion, a doubling in the past decade. So where does the money go? Well, like most cities, the largest line item is the police, which had a record $475 million in expenses last year, followed by utilities, parks and recreation, and engineering. And it was Vancouver Police Chief Adam Palmer who had the highest salary in the city at nearly $500,000, with his 3 deputies in 3rd, 4th, and 5th spots. Though with Palmer retiring at the end of April, someone else will top the list next year. As for Mayor Ken Sim and councillors, their salaries are lower, though for the first time, all councillors received more than $100,000 in base pay. Now, the thing that some people focus on with Sim isn't his salary, but his travel expenses, where he averaged $35,000 a year in his first 2 years. Now, that's much higher than previous Mayor Kennedy Stewart, even during his first year in office before the pandemic, but is similar to former Vancouver Mayor Gregor Robertson, now attempting a comeback with the federal Liberal Party. A reminder that what goes around in politics often comes around. Justin McElroy, CBC News, Vancouver.
The Bank of Canada is pausing its interest rate cuts, keeping the benchmark rate unchanged. As Kyle Bax explains, it's a decision dominated by one thing: Donald Trump's tariffs.
Looking ahead, there are some early encouraging signs.
Facing an ever-changing trade war, the Bank of Canada is standing pat.
watching and waiting to see the true impact of tariffs, including a possible recession.
The Canadian economy is starting from a good place. There's a lot of uncertainty, and we're navigating carefully.
Borrowing costs for Canadians have noticeably dropped over the last year, following 7 consecutive rate cuts. For now, rates are steady at 2.75%.
In this very clouded situation, we're going to proceed carefully. There's a lot of uncertainty about tariffs. There's opposing forces on inflation.
Tariffs could cause both higher prices in Canada and job losses. The central bank would struggle to address both issues, since lower interest rates would lead to more household spending. That could help boost employment, but also drive inflation even higher.
You've got 2 different rooms in your house on fire. You've got 1 bucket of water. Which room are you going to go to? The room to try and douse the fire, the room where people are losing their jobs, or the room where prices are going up? So it's a very challenging moment for any central banker.
Many economists still expect lower interest rates later this year, but only slightly.
I think the message is don't expect rates to fall to where they were during COVID. I mean, this is a different type of shock that the Bank of Canada is dealing with, and it's limiting their ability to cut rates.
The next interest rate cut could come in a few months, with the bank making its next decision in June. Kyle Bax, CBC News, Calgary.
California Governor Gavin Newsom says his state will file a federal lawsuit challenging President Trump's use of emergency powers to enact tariffs, saying they disproportionately impact the large state. The move comes one day after Newsom urged Canadians to keep traveling to the Golden State.
And we want to make sure we send a message to our Canadian friends up north to come to a state where 2 million Canadians visited last year.
The suit will argue that Trump's use of the International Emergency Economic Powers Act to impose tariffs on Canada, Mexico, and China, or a 10% tariff on all imports, is unlawful. California is the first state to take legal action over the levies. They're a beloved fruit for many of us here in BC. But while many rightly see blueberries as a summer crop, researchers are looking into ways on how to grow them year-round. Darius Madavi has that story.
Amid renewed interest in buying Canadian, there seems to be a hunger for a future where we can grow fresh, local produce during our Canadian winters.
Which one do you prefer?
This one. This one is so good. The flavor is so concentrated. I mean, that's the best blueberry I've had in a very long time. Wow. Yeah. Oh, that's a good blueberry. There's no question de-extincting dire wolves and woolly mammoths is all the rage right now. But the promise of gene editing doesn't end there. And you can see that at universities all over the world. The work they're doing may not be as eye-catching as a revived dodo, but it's certainly tastier. In this SFU greenhouse, researchers say they've achieved a major first, harvesting blueberries over a Canadian winter.
Right now we have 3 varieties, which is already commercial variety for the farmers or growers.
Typically, Canadian blueberries are grown outside in the summer and early fall. But here, berries have been harvested throughout the winter, thanks to tightly controlled light and temperature. These new growing techniques will soon be used on the team's gene-edited blueberry plants too, which the researchers hope will eventually provide Canadians with fresh, local produce year-round.
This is like a revolution. If we could produce any variety regardless of the temperature and just mimic everything for them inside of the greenhouse.
These are the same blueberry plants that you could find growing outside. These are not gene-edited. But they're an important first step to understanding how we can grow them over the winter and why the gene-edited versions could be so useful.
So let me show you the lab where we keep the plants, the tissue culture of the plants. And once the shoot is formed, it grows up a little bit like that. We're trying to make varieties that are more suitable for indoor production, and that is actually happening in the lab.
So the blueberries that we saw in the greenhouse, they started out here in the lab?
Yes, they started out in the tissue culture facilities that we have there, and that's actually how most blueberries are propagated in the industry as well.
But not all the plants in this lab are your standard varieties. Some, like this little sprout, have been gene-edited with the goal of getting more flowers, which means more berries, on a more compact bush.
What we're doing here is breeding based on knowledge, essentially trying to copy what has been done with traditional breeding, going back to 10,000 years actually, but do it in a more controlled way.
Precision instead of brute force.
Yes.
Researchers are only tweaking the genes already found in the blueberry plant. These are changes that, if you were lucky, you might find out in nature, which means the resulting plants aren't considered GMO.
We're trying to copy what has already been done in other plant species some 50 to 75 years ago in varieties.
But if this has been done through traditional breeding in other crops, why can't we do it for blueberries?
We'd have to go to screen for natural variations in wild blueberries and then try to cross that back into the cultivated blueberries, and that would easily take a decade or two, so it's not worth it.
Part of the problem also lies in blueberries' DNA. Compared to crops like rice or tomatoes, blueberries have twice as many copies of their genes. That means the chance of getting all the right versions of each gene through traditional breeding is incredibly low. But gene editing promises to speed things faster.
We could actually generate a variety in a couple of years that otherwise would take about 20 years.
Plants that you've edited now, how soon are they going to end up in the greenhouse?
Well, we should certainly have them in the greenhouse in the coming summer.
As the world changes, so do the demands on our food supply, which means our agriculture has to change too. Luckily, there are a lot of brilliant minds figuring out what that has to look like and taste like. Darius Madavi, CBC News, Vancouver.
Eating delicious fruit in the job. Not bad. So, blueberries, as we know, big business here in BC, massive crop. Did researchers say anything about how gene editing could benefit local growers?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, right now, local growers get one big harvest at the end of the summer or maybe early fall, and this way they could keep growing them year-round. I mean, they got harvests every month, January, February, March, and April, so that you'd be able to grow right through the season instead of, having to find other things to do during that off season. The other big thing is it's just great for people in general. I mean, I wasn't kidding when I said that was the best blueberry I'd had in a long time. Getting local fruit, right off the plant is totally different. Right now, the blueberries we get just about 4 weeks from when they're shipped up in South America. Up here, it's not fresh. It's just not the same.
The same. Not a BC blueberry.
No, not at all.
Thanks, Darius.
Oh, so good.
It's a Supreme Court ruling to the United Kingdom that defines a person's gender identity based on biological sex. More on the decision and the ramifications next.
So I know when I really like a song, if within the first 3 seconds, I'm already vibing to it.
Hey, I'm Rohith Joseph. Vibin' is the new show all about discovering great new songs and fresh artists from across BC and beyond.
It's not one person dictating what good music is, it's the community sharing what good music is.
Stream Vibin' on CBC Listen.
It's a Supreme Court ruling in the United Kingdom that defines a person's gender identity based on biological sex. Here now is that story. Apologies, we're a little mixed up here. We're going to go now to wildfire efforts. The BC government is stepping up its efforts to, in response to wildfire prevention efforts, in response to recommendations made following previous seasons. Now, the province's snowpack is better than it was last year, but still only 79%. And the BC Wildfire Service says it's still too early to see what that will mean for the summer.
Yes, we may have a busy start to the spring in certain areas where we saw the drought, but it's really going to be dependent on June. It's going to be dependent on the June rains. Whether they arrive or not will be a big indicator of what I would say our core wildfire season in July, August, and September will look like.
The province is conducting cultural and prescribed burns across the province this year. Training, recruitment, and fire detection technology has also been expanded. Now, it might seem like an impossible task, finding the body of a man swept away in a massive landslide under 50 meters of water. But that's exactly what a dog has done in the Okanagan. Amelia John has that story.
Former RCMP officer Terry Downs and trained cadaver dog Burritt are volunteers with Central Okanagan Search and Rescue. They were part of the team called in to help find a man caught in a landslide near West Kelowna earlier this month. The slide sent more than 20,000 tons of debris across West Side Road and into Okanagan Lake. The man was driving on the highway when his truck was swept away.
Was pushed from the road and out in 200 meters into the lake. It was just mind-boggling how big this slide was from a little creek that you can hop across. It's as wide as a bathtub, but it had dammed up, and to the point of 20,000 tons worth of debris were finally let loose.
Crews spent nearly 1,000 hours combing the area using drones, boats, and dogs.
The dog handler suggested we put the dog on the boat. I had my doubts. She actually sent me an academic paper about the sensitivity of a dog and the usefulness on boats.
Downs says once experts realized the victim could be underwater, she knew Burritt could be an asset.
We've used Burritt before on the water, and he's super steady in any situation. So he's hung off helicopters, he's been in UTVs, on sleds. Anywhere we've asked him to go, he's willing to do the work. I'm watching his change in indication, which for a dog like him, his tail is his giveaway, right?
That tail led crews right to the location of the man, 50 meters underwater.
He's smelling off-gassing that bodies and items, like even your shirt and my shirt, like we all off-gas.
The RCMP underwater recovery team is now set to complete the mission of bringing the victim out of the lake. The identity of the man hasn't been released. Amelia John, CBC News, Vancouver.
With a moniker like Colossal Squid, you'd think finding one in the wild would be easy. No. But this is the first time the species has been filmed in its natural habitat. That was a baby colossal squid encountered by a research vessel just over 600 meters below sea level. These creatures have actually never been seen since being discovered 100 years ago. They're rather elusive and can grow to more than 20 feet long and weigh up to 500 kilograms.
Something.
They're so tiny and colorful. Where have they been? How have we not done this yet?
I know. The only reason we knew about them was from checking the beaks in the stomachs of whales, and they were eating so many of them that we knew there must be tons and tons of them down there, but we were never able to find them. So very exciting stuff, and I mean, it was worth the wait. Look at those photos. So
Slightly
cool.
big oceans too.
I would say so. Yeah. Now, going from the oceans deep below to the sky up above, I do want to mention quickly that there is a decent aurora forecast for tonight. It seems like this particular aurora has peaked over Europe earlier today. We saw some pretty exciting images, pretty high levels of radiation measured there. Not radiation, sorry. geomagnetic storm measured there. It may continue here, so be on the lookout for the possibility of an aurora tonight. It's not looking as good as it was last night. Then that ended up fizzling out too, but just be aware of it. If you happen to be outside, look up, see if you can spot them. Now, tonight in the across the south coast, we're going to see those lows start to come down a little bit again to around seasonal, 3 to 5 degrees or so. But our highs today were pretty nice. And if we look to tomorrow, pretty similar, coming up a couple degrees pretty much everywhere, especially for inland areas, hitting 20 degrees in places like Abbotsford and Port Alberni. Once we get into Saturday, those temperatures come down a little bit. It won't be too much of a difference for the coast, coming down 2 or 3 degrees. For inland areas, though, places like Abbotsford, you could see drops of 6 or 7 degrees, so be aware of that. If we zoom out to the temperatures province-wide, pretty similar. Temperatures start to recover after a bit of a dip today in the southern interior. They stay high through Saturday, and then they start to come down a little bit for Sunday. But again, places like Kamloops approaching 25 degrees, well above seasonal for the next couple days. If we look at our precipitation forecast, also some exciting news there. Tomorrow, clear and sunny across the province. That next wave of precipitation starts to make its way down the coast early on Friday, reaching the North Island by Friday, probably early afternoon, mid-afternoon. Reaches the South Island overnight Friday into Saturday, and then sweeps through parts of the province, leaving us with a bit of an unsettled weather picture through the weekend, but with sunny breaks too pretty much everywhere. Here is our forecast for tomorrow. Lots of sunshine, nice and easy. Some cloud may start to build into parts of the southeast, like Golden, at times tomorrow, later in the day tomorrow, but still plenty of sunshine. Again, everywhere. Nice and easy forecast. Here's a 5-day forecast, Dan. Those nice warm inland temperatures the next couple of days. Those gusty winds return for Saturday. And still sunny breaks, but a little bit more showery.
Okay. Thanks, Darius.
Thank you.
The UK Supreme Court has unanimously ruled that the legal definition of woman is based on a person's sex at birth. As Anna Cunningham reports, it means transgender women are not legally women under the nation's equality legislation and can be excluded from single-sex spaces.
The debate over whether trans women can be regarded as female under the UK's 2010 Equality Act has become a political battleground here in the UK in recent years. The highest court in the land delivered its ruling.
The terms woman and sex in the Equality Act 2010 refer to a biological woman and biological sex. But we counsel against reading this judgment as a triumph of one or more groups in our society at the expense of another. It is not.
Supporters of the group For Women Scotland celebrated. The group brought this appeal arguing against the Scottish Government's decision that transgender people with a gender recognition certificate are entitled to sex-based protections. The group denies being transphobic.
This is not about prejudice or bigotry, as some people would say. It's not about hatred for another community. It's just about saying that there are differences, and biology is one of those differences, and we just need protections based on that.
From the trans community, there is disappointment, frustration, and for some, fear.
No judge can tell me who I am. And it feels just like we're following in the footsteps of Trump's America.
Social media has been awash with comments, including this from the British author J.K. Rowling. She says in winning, they've protected the rights of women and girls across the UK. The campaign group Scottish Trans issued a statement expressing its shock, saying the judgment seems to have totally missed what matters to trans people, that we are able to live our lives and be recognised in line with who we truly are. The British government too has commented. It says this judgment has provided clarity for services including hospitals, refuges for women and sports clubs. What is clear is that despite this legal ruling, this debate remains polarising. Anna Cunningham, CBC News, London.
A champion in the 2S LGBTQ+ community and those trying to escape intolerance and injustice. We're going to look back at the life of Chris Morrissey next.
Amy Bell, and this is your CBC Inbox.
CBC returns as the exclusive media partner of the Doxa Documentary Film Festival, May 1st to 11th. Doxa presents an exceptional selection of films and events that cultivate curiosity and critical thought. Festival tickets at doxafestival.ca. And on May 15th, join CBC's Dan Burritt at the Surrey Board of Trade's Top 25 Under 25 Awards, celebrating initiatives of Surrey's youth. Tickets at businessinsurrey.com.
A trailblazer who advocated for immigrants and refugees from the 2S LGBTQ+ community is being remembered fondly.
Chris Morrissey was known for challenging Canadian immigration laws to recognize same-sex couples and later helping seniors. Mira Bain says more on what she accomplished.
The history is important and the present is important. That's how we began and that's how we want to continue.
Featured in an ad campaign to mark Pride, Chris Morrissey was recognized as a champion in the queer community. Morrissey died peacefully, surrounded by loved ones on Monday, but her legacy will live on.
She's a big name. She's a big person. She's a big hero, advocate, and everything for the queer community.
She earned an Order of Canada after fighting to allow people in same-sex relationships to sponsor partners from other countries. Morrissey also showed courage by supporting refugees who faced discrimination in their home countries for their sexual orientation and helping them come to Canada. She was one of the founders of Rainbow Refugee.
It began at a time when really no one was recognizing the very specific ways that sexual orientation and gender identity persecution impacted people and the barriers to people being able to make a refugee claim.
Her advocacy was rooted in her personal experience. Morrissey, who is Canadian, met her American partner when they were both nuns and had to fight immigration laws to settle in Canada as a couple.
Our relationship is as much family. I mean, we consider each other to be family.
She was featured in a documentary about a network of strangers who supported a gay Ugandan man who is seeking asylum, one of many that Morrissey helped.
It's a labor of love and passion for her, and she has inspired thousands to get involved in this work.
Morrissey also advocated for better care for seniors in the queer community. In recent years, Morrissey faced health challenges. Friends and community members rallied around her to raise money and support her during tough times.
Her legacy is her paving the way for other people to be a very authentic queer person.
Morrissey was known as a fierce advocate, but equally as caring. Mira Baines, CBC News, Vancouver.
Thanks for being with us tonight on CBC Vancouver News at 6.
We will have your next local news at 11 o'clock, right after the National. Good night.